over to you first, Sarah, just a little bit about who you are and your role in kind of fitness world.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah. I'm originally from the UK. Anyone else from the UK in the house? I've been in Singapore almost 7 years. I'm currently a health and phys ed teacher at an international school and also a health and performance coach. So I coach people I coach people online and face-to-face with health questions, performance questions, and just generally in life. Fitness-wise, I used to be operations manager at a gym in the CBD, so I took a break from teaching and then got back into teaching, and now I'm getting back into the fitness world. And I know Jess through trampolining back in the UK, and generally the fitness community has grown so much in the 7 years that I've been here. It's been insane. From 1 or 2 personal training boutique kind of places, now there's an F45 on every corner, a million CrossFit gyms, all the Globo gyms. Now we have Jess's place too. So yeah, it's been an experience that I've really enjoyed and I look forward to getting back into more often.
Hi, I'm Emily. I've been in Singapore for a year. I came out here following my Singaporean fiance. But I was in the UK working for a healthy snack company called Graze. They make like punnets of like nuts and fruit and that kind of thing. It was a great place to work and a lot of free food, but I thought I'd make the move. I'm currently working as a nutritionist and personal trainer for another gym that will not be named, unless you want to find out where to get some nutrition help. I don't want to compete with Ministry of Fitness. I recently started doing Spartan races, and that's why I've started coming to the classes here. If you want any nutrition advice, I'd be happy to help.
So I am Jessie. Lots of you obviously know me already. In my real life, I'm a teacher. So lots of kind of working out how to educate and inspire my class. And I have lost about 25 kilos in total now. So I used to be a whole lot bigger. And it's only been in kind of the last 5-6 years that I've had any interaction with fitness. I was a very unhealthy child, very unhealthy teenager, and it's been a real interesting transition to go from doing absolutely nothing at all to now being quite successful in racing Spartan. So it's been a real journey for me. I think because of that, I really understand that kind of the fear of going to the gym. I've done the juice diets and the fad diets and trying to drop weight. And I think because of all the things that I did wrong along the way, I'd now like to minimize that for anyone else that I can and just kind of save people the hassle and working out what works and trying to build that confidence, especially when it comes to working out.
Nice, Jess. Hi, I'm Meagan Douglas. I recognize lots of you out there also. So I'm mom to Isla, and I was a former phys ed teacher also with Sarah at an international school here in Singapore. I used to work for Spartan Singapore, Spartan Malaysia, Spartan Thailand. I'm currently managing the Spartan Vietnam team, so please come and join us. I know our race was postponed, but it's worth the wait, I promise you that. I've been an athlete all my life. I've run lots of ultra marathons. I've run lots of Spartan races, lots of other races. I think it's really important to get our little people involved, and I see some younger faces that just appeared out of nowhere here that hopefully are staying for the teenage workout. But I really just like to advocate for, fitness and healthy lifestyle in general. So if you have any questions, I made the transition from a career in oil and gas to a career in teaching to a career in events planning. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about how to make those jumps. I can give you my best advice. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi guys, so my name's Jess. Lots of you would have seen me here because this is my gym. It wasn't always the plan to have a boot camp and fitness gym in Singapore, but however, just to keep my trampoline athletes jumping, that's what happened. So yeah, I'm out in Singapore as the head coach of Singapore Trampoline Academy. My background is very much everything trampoline, but also I competed at quite a high level in lots of other sports as well. And I do believe the gymnastics background helped me with every other sport that I did. A little bit about my background is that actually I had quite a negative experience with sport in the sense of actually, although weighing 62 kilos now, I actually punished myself through eating disorders as a young sort of, a late teen and early 20s. So my lowest weight actually was 47 kilos, which is about 16 kg less than what I am now, which is very, very unhealthy. So it's something that without my squad kids knowing, I'm very much picking up on all the time. Trying to instill confidence in them every opportunity and making sure they don't follow the same path that I did, because it's very, very unhealthy and it brings a negative influence, not on only your life, but the structure and the way that you sort of do things. I also joined the army. That was part of my restructuring to get some confidence and structure back in my life again. So I spent 6 years as a British Army officer, blowing things up. Funny enough, I was actually in the artillery. So I went from that back to then sport, which is my passion and my love. So if any sort of leadership questions, how to deal with 100 men in a close call environment where you're having to deal with one man, that also. Yeah, it's a very competitive place, especially in the military, and I definitely have a lot of experience in that. So yeah, any questions that way, please ask.
Oh, great story.
Okay, so like I say, I've got some backup questions in case there's a sea of silence, but it would be really nice to open up to the audience. Is there anything, obviously you can hear now background that we've got, any questions you've got, any experiences that you'd like to share? Sea of blankness. Oh, yeah. Emily, go.
I guess for Emily, from a nutrition point of view, maybe what recommendations for us as female athletes we might recommend as compared to what we see for men in the field?
Okay. Compared to men, I guess you really have to consider the macro levels you're intaking. So for women, you're going to be wanting to have a little bit less protein than men, but it depends on your body composition and your size. It really varies. To get a very tailored plan, you have to come see someone, to be honest. And lean protein is the key, I guess, to maintaining the muscle mass that you have. You don't want to lose strength. You're going to be burning a lot of calories by the exercise you're doing. And if you do a lot, then the muscle is going to waste. You don't want to do that. So a good thing to do is, if you have like a body scanner accessible, that would be a good way of just making sure that your muscle's not going. If it is up the lean protein, make sure you're intaking enough whole grain carbohydrates as well to convert that those protein sources into muscle as well. Don't cut out any major food groups. Cutting out any group is never a good idea. I know there's loads of fad diets out there that say cut out carbs, cut out fat. No food group should be taken out. It's just really focusing on the basics. That's the key. Don't listen to all these voices out there. There's so many. Just focus on the real research that's out there. Like, if you're not sure whether to listen to someone or not, just look into their background. If they're like, they studied English and then they're like recommending to drink flaxseed oil every morning because it's going to lose weight, which is what one of my clients was doing recently. Someone told them to do that. It's just like, I don't know where it's come from. You need to follow things that are backed up by real research. So sorry, I digress quite a lot, but basically just focus on the basics. Get in your whole grain carbohydrates, get in enough lean protein. If you see your body is coping well with your current diet, stick with it. Everyone's different. So it's a bit about trial and error, seeing what works for your performance and what works for your body. No, that's not specific. Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I was going to say, because this is a female audience, about 6 or 8 months ago, I was given the recommendation to follow or watch a TED Talk on a doctor by the name of Dr. Stacey Sims.
Oh,
and
yeah, exactly
I've read her book, actually. It's called Roar. Yeah, I don't know if you've read it. And yeah, so it's I think it's really valuable to know that what she, if you haven't heard about her, maybe some of you have and some of you haven't, but what she is researching is all about male hormones, and how essentially that women are not small men, and all of the research that's been done on any female athlete, performance, nutrition, strength training, etc., is all of that research is based on men. And because of that, they're missing the whole element of female hormones and how we need to be using those to our advantage, when to train, what to eat, etc. And all of that. Her book is fascinating. So if you're at all interested in that kind of material, I have a copy. I'd be happy to lend it out to anybody, but I don't know if you've read it, Emily, but it's really, really interesting. So, but watch her TED Talk. It's called Women Are Not Small Men, if you haven't.
Meagan is on the same brainwave as me.
her.
Yeah, so Leanne's just lent me her copy, actually. She is amazing. And one of the things is, it's all like, definitely we're not small men, but also the time in your cycle over the month has a massive impact on what you should be doing for your body. So Leanne's got a great blog post. Leanne actually gave it a go. Hi, Leanne. So Leanne's been training, I hope you don't mind me saying, for her cycle. And she actually wrote a blog post on the Team Grit page all about the time of the month, the nutrition that's good for that, and actually the type of training that you should be doing as well. I'm definitely not an expert in it, so I'll kind of leave it to the science. Go and check out Stacey Sims, because she is, but there's some really interesting recommendations in terms of kind of protein and the fact that all the studies are done on men, and they're now saying, oh, well, actually the optimum window for protein after a workout isn't that big a deal. It could be up to an hour and a half, but actually when you look at women, it's incredibly important post-workout to be getting that protein in within a 30-minute window.
Yeah, we're our free protein shakes.
Hello. Yeah. But yeah, really worth checking out. Like I say, the book's called Raw. It's well worth the read.
Even if you don't want to buy the book, watch her TED Talk.
Yeah.
It's called Women Are Not Small Men.
Really good podcast on her too. Yeah. So if you just Google her name and podcast, you'll find like 6 to 10 different ones.
Sounds like a very credible source.
Yes, absolutely. Amazing. All right. Any other questions? Alona? Yeah.
Flanagan, ex-runner, very, very high level, has released a cookbook recently. I think she's on her second one now, but it's called Run Fast, Eat Slow. She also in Forward talks a lot about fueling as a female athlete and the percentage of healthy fats that you need to be taking in versus what men need to take in. Have a copy, happy to lend it to people.
Amazing. Just in case the mic didn't pick that up, it's called Run Fast, Eat Slow. Okay, interesting. Ooh, that's one for me to read. Emma.
So I'm a working mom and with 2 girls, right?
Two amazing girls.
Very busy, have to work, cook, and still train them. How do you sometimes balance that motivation to also train the girls and also motivate yourself to continue training?
That's a really good, tough question.
That's a mum question.
I think that AJ Shaker needs to be doing more of those dishes.
That's a really tough question, and I think, like, Paula, you would understand this too, because I work full time. I have 2 kids, and I train. Our kids are busy. I think that my husband read a really great book recently, one of like hundreds, but it's all about habits and being routinized and just creating those routines, like building them into your daily structure. I think that it becomes less about motivation and just about doing it and just like focusing on it. So you know that every day you get up at 6, maybe you go for your run, you make your lunches, whatever. You come home, you eat your dinner, you exercise before dinner. I know that our struggle is Isla plays soccer and sometimes touch rugby and ice hockey and is always on the go, and so is Theo. So we're always trying to balance that. But I've got my hour, and if you ask me, let's meet for a glass of wine on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, I won't do it, because I know that at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, I'm doing X. So I never break my routine. I know it's terrible, but if I can't get my exercise in or know that my kids are like, the thing with your kids, and I love this, but it's not a team sport necessarily. So they're not Monday, Wednesday, Friday at their practice from 5 until 6:30. So your motivation is their motivation and vice versa. So that's even more important, why you have to keep that just a part of your routine. They don't have a choice. They have to do X, Y, and Z. That would be what I would give to our kids. You don't have a choice. You're coming with me to Bukatima Hill or whatever it may be. They may not like it, but I don't really care. So honestly, you just can't give them a choice. It's kind of like being a PE teacher. Like, you have to give kids options, and they can take A or B, but they're going to take one or the other. That's the way that we do it in our house. I don't know.
So I build up on that. So I was brought up with 2 incredibly fit parents, and
just seeing them going out running was enough of a motivation for us. So they didn't necessarily need to like sit us down and motivate us. We just continually saw them going to the gym, going out running, and that was such a huge motivation. And then for me and my brothers, it was just normal. Like we didn't know any different. So like what Meagan was saying about like just getting into that routine, like I didn't have a choice but to go for that cycle. There was no AOE, it was we go for the cycle and you are coming with us.
Yeah.
So,
I would also say, Ima, from knowing you, I think you're already doing that amazingly. And I think,
such an amazing role model.
You just need that coach.
yeah, I would say what you have done, and reflecting on my own childhood, is that you've brought them into it with you. And I guess it's the same with you guys, is that you can see that your girls are so invested in that. I mean, just I've got you all on social media. Like the fact that you'll go out and do an hour's run as a family is amazing. Or there'll be a bridge and you're all doing pull-ups on the bridge. Like it is awesome. But you've made that part of your lifestyle, and I think actually you're winning a lot more than you think, because actually I grew up and no one in my house did anything, and I didn't have that inspiration, so I did nothing. And actually, to be fair, my dad played a bit of ice hockey, but like my mum didn't really exercise at all, so that was my norm, and I just didn't. And actually looking back now, I wish someone had pushed me into it more. But I think it is about finding that balance between, and I don't know what the younger people in the room would think, is that like from being a teacher, if you push too hard, they sometimes go the other way. So I think it's about inspiring but still giving that choice and allowing them to actually see the benefit of it. I do a lot with my class about the why, and actually this is going to help your mental health and this is going to keep you fit. And actually I think once they can understand why they're doing it, there's more of a reason to do it.
And that's what I was going to share was why for everybody, for your personal, why am I training every day? What is your why there? And that will answer a lot of your questions. Oh, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. Well, why are you going to the gym? For what purpose? And there's a great technique of the 5 whys. Why am I going to the gym? Oh, because I want to look better. Why do you want to look better? Well, I don't feel that confident in my body. Why don't you feel confident in your body? And build those 5 whys into the reflective time that you have, because you'll find that actually what motivates me isn't going to the gym to look good. It's because I want to be more confident. And if I'm more confident, I feel like I can put myself out there at work. If I'm more confident, I can be a great role model for my daughters or for my children. So going with the why. And just from listening to you, it sounded like your mindset was a lot of overwhelm. I need to do this, and I want to do this, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this. And we all do it. We all bring it onto ourselves. But shifting that mindset, going, this is what I am doing, and this is why I'm doing it. And if you are clear and concise about what your why is, and I feel like I sound like Simon Sinek, start with why. But it really does make things a lot easier when it comes to making choices. Choice between going out at the weekend, having a few drinks, or staying at home and just chilling out. Why are you going out? What is the purpose of your training? And then that decision becomes a lot simpler. It doesn't have to be I should do this, I need to do that, because shoulds and needs put a lot of pressure on us. I would like to do this because this is why I'm doing it. So that's something that I would share with you and with everybody.
Mental kind of reassessing on that. I like that a lot. Jess, I have a question for you. Yeah. So you're obviously very open about talking about something that was a big challenge in your life. I don't think there's probably anyone sat in this room right now that at some point hasn't had a confidence issue with how they look. Yeah. I am just wondering, in the generation we've got now where there is so much social media and so much comparison everywhere, having lived what you've lived, how do we educate the young generation? How do we support ourselves in not getting caught up in the world of comparison and that then leading to an unhealthy relationship with mindset and food?
Talk about disordered eating, it's a little bit taboo, and people don't want to admit that at some point. I know I've had disordered eating, and probably everyone in this Scream goes, no, I don't want to eat that cookie because now I have to run a marathon tomorrow, basically. And what advice, also from your experience, you have to every girl in this room when we feel guilty about eating something, how can we kind of break through that, and what advice to like get away from that disorder?
Yeah, I think for me, my actual reasoning behind it was a control thing. I knew that if I did it, that's the one thing in my life I had full control over. And it would get to the stage where I would go out and I would make sure I've walked a certain distance, or I'd go to the gym, and not only would I have, I'm quite happy to admit, I would have thrown up all my lunch, I would make sure I would then go to the gym and burn 500 or 600 calories. It was always that cycle of feeling excited to know that you're nearly passing out walking down the road. The amount of times that I would have to stop, sit down for 10 minutes because I know if I carried on I would pass out. But it was that whole control of knowing that you were doing that to yourself. At the time, I was competing at a fairly high level in the UK in trampoline. I was competing at national level. I was doing quite well. And I wasn't as good as my peers though. And I think as an athlete, I knew I'd reached my plateau. And I was also coaching at the same time, but I hadn't quite made that transition from athlete to coach. And for me, I started getting comments on how great I was looking as an athlete, how physical I was looking. And this is from the old and bold generation of someone that told me I had sausage legs whilst I was trampolining. Definitely didn't. But however, it still sort of ingrains in you the fact that you've got to be really careful as a coach what you say, you know, making a confidence thing. Coach, parent, teacher, everything. Yeah. And it's, you know, my girls, I praise the fact that we have got strong girls who have nice, strong booties. I tell them that. And I'm like, your booty's awesome. Or we've got Amy, who's sat in front of us, who's super strong, and I call her peanut butt. And I'm happy to say that because she has got an absolute nutcracker of a butt. And I'm happy to say that. But however, it's trying to make that a positive thing and not a negative. Because for me, it was a negative. And yeah, it turned, the reason I switched, the reason I changed is because my dad cried down the phone to me. Sorry, 2 seconds.
I think the fact that you're willing to share this is so valuable, and we really appreciate you doing so.
Get rid of that. Okay. And you never know how important it is to be sort of truthful to your parents. And I never want any of the kids to feel what I felt at that time. So sorry, girls. Yeah, but as a coach, as someone that deals with social media, and someone that is now, yep, I'm not 100% all the time, and I know that. But however, I know how I can mitigate feeling bad, or, you know, just being confident. Like, you know, I had someone come in to work out with me the other day. I've currently got a broken arm. I'm not going to be able to work out for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But she came in and she said to me, do you know what? I'd love to have, you know, shoulders looking so strong as you. And I think, Jesus, at the moment, I'm not even trained. But however, it's being being kind to each other, being nice, being positive about what your body looks like. Do you know what? This is my body. I can't change anything about it. But I know full well that I'm strong and I can, you know, train to my hardest and I can be who I am. Don't compare yourself to the person that's going to throw a 6-pack pic on social media, because do you know what? I definitely haven't got one. The only time I did have one when I was throwing myself up every day. And that's not a bad thing. That's not that I'm not as strong as the next person next to me. It's just that I'm built differently. No, there's no correct body shape, body type. Everyone's different. And until you embrace that yourself and understand actually loving yourself is far more it's better than actually trying to compare yourself. That's when you'll start to have a happy relationship with yourself and with food and with your sport and with everything else. And, you know, just going on as a coach, and the way that I try and push the confidence to the kids, I really hope I'm doing it. I hope that they're sort of nodding-ish. If I'm not, I'd happily let them tell me. Because sometimes what I say, what I do might not be the right thing, but I'm happy to take criticism and know actually that's not of benefit to me as a person. But yeah, confidence-wise, what you say, social media is a double-edged sword. It always is, it always will be. I think actually my time in the army came to an end at the time when I realised the guys were actually really horrible. You know, I've never been called so many names under the sun and tried to pretend that that's okay. I was called a lizard. I was called this, that, the other. And in the end, I started to believe it. And the guys would say, you know, an army term is to say you are rats. Okay, now rats is an ugly derogatory term or something's horrible. And you'd be at a ball, you'd be at a dinner night, and you'd do yourself up, and the guys would go, oh my God, you know, you scrub up well. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not wearing army kit for once. And then their girlfriends would come in, and it's trying not to be horrible is really hard. Trying to say, oh, you look lovely, and you think, you're calling me that, and that's your girlfriend. It's really hard to try and be the bigger person in that sense. Honestly, some of these guys would be horrible. And actually standing up tall and saying, do you know what, I am me. You've got to be proud, you've got to be strong. A lot of the girls in this room are the alpha female, okay? A lot of these girls are strong on the outside. Every one of us are here as strong. Now, that can be a bad thing because sometimes inside I know most people are screaming. So a lot of people had no clue what I was doing to myself because I was outwardly, overtly an extrovert. And that's the way that I cover things up. And that's not a bad thing, but it's just knowing full well that it's the mental health side of asking, are you okay? And you know what? It's okay to not be okay. And I think that's the main thing, is just look out for each other, and 100% it's okay to not be okay.
Oh, yeah. But I think that, like, you being willing to share that, and I think it comes back to no one is getting it right all the time. And that is the problem with social media, is that, and we're all criminals for it, we only put the best stuff out there, and it's a highlight reel, and we know that. But I think it's one thing knowing it and actually another thing feeling it. And sometimes I can happily sit and talk to my class about the fact that, but we all know that's a highlight and we know it's real. It's not real, don't we? And they'll all say yes. But then you've still got a little girl coming because she's upset that her friend said something that wasn't very kind. So I think, yeah, knowing that there's always stuff going on, and it is very much, there are so many people. And I think the beauty of social media now is that there are people you can reach out to, even if you're not ready to talk to someone that you're really close to, or you're not willing to share to that extent. I've had people that I don't really know messaging me on social media about injuries that they've had or operations that they're recovering from. And it's so nice to know that there is that act of sharing and being able to be there for people. And that's what you're doing hugely.
I've had people come to me and say, oh, you know, what's the big deal with Jess? I went, have you seen her transformation? Have you seen her background? Like, this girl's awesome. Like, you really need to look into the finer detail. Yeah, what she's posted now, she's doing awesome, but look at where she's come from. And actually, that journey for everyone might be different. It might be 5 weeks, it might be 2 years. You never know what that is, but don't judge someone by what they're doing now, because you know what? You never know what they've had to bring themselves out of. And that's a very important factor. It's like, stick up for your mates. Always stick up for your mates and stick up for those around you.
Just be nice. It's nice to be nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's you know, lift each other up. That's one word of advice that I've got.
Lucy.
Yeah, sorry, just you mentioned something about language, and that really struck a chord with me, and just how we all have to be so careful with the language that we're using to each other. And you know, when someone says to another girl, "Oh my God, you've lost so much weight, you look amazing," that actually might not be the best thing to be saying to that person, and that could be motivating them to just go and go back to the toilet and throw out their food again, and then you then go and put weight on, and then someone kind of goes, "Oh." You just have to be so careful with that language, and I definitely am affected by language, and things get said to me all the time, and I just think that we all just need to be more mindful of the words that we're using, and try not to comment on people's weight. Maybe it's just you look strong. Yeah, you look strong. Yeah. And maybe if you think that your friend has lost a ton of weight, maybe you do just send them a message and be like, "Hey, is everything okay?" Rather than commenting on weight per se, because that could end up being a motivator to losing more weight rather than getting a better, healthy relationship with weight.
Sure, and I think we've also got a few younger girls in the room as well, and it's as a coach as well, and teachers as well, you'll see this. Kids, when you grow, you go up, out, wide, up, out, okay? You're never going to grow in the same proportion both ways, and that is not a bad thing. Just embrace it, okay? Because, you know, you can be strong, you can be all these different things. You're not getting chubby, you're not getting any of this. It's just your body growing, okay? And it might take another 5-6 years to settle. Just embrace it, stick with it, because you know what? the effort you put in now. It may never settle. Yeah, that's also okay. But it's, just keep sticking with what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing, and just don't let that be a focus. You are not defined by the body that you sit in at all, 100%. It's the actions that you do that speak louder, for sure.
I was just going to circle back to the language and the language that we use, because the language we have, we live in language. It's generative. When we speak something, when we say something, it generates a future for us. When we say yes to something, like I said yes to coming here, it changed my Sunday morning, because now instead of lazing around in my pajamas on the sofa, I came to the gym. So like you said, being mindful of the language we use, saying I need rather than I want to, versus, saying yes to something means you are saying no to something else. When you say yes to something, something else doesn't happen. What are you saying yes to? Are you saying yes to the social media? Are you saying yes to your boss, yes to your friends, and no to yourself? Or are you saying yes to you and what you're choosing and what you want and what you need, compared to all the other pressures that we have as wives, as parents, as teachers, leaders? We have so many things coming up. What are we saying yes to? What are we saying no to? And do you want to change that? Or are you happy where you're at and you're like, yep, I just got to keep on going? And with high challenge, it requires high support. And like these ladies have said, stick up for your mates. Your mates are around you. When you lift somebody up, it doesn't diminish you in any way. It brings us all up. So I just wanted to pick on the language there.
Yes, I would like to ask about overtraining. My job is not sports related, but I like to do sports. That's rugby, yoga, I run. And I get people that they don't do a lot of sports telling me, be careful with your adrenals, they might stop working properly, your immune system could go down. Where are the red flags when we go like sports?
That's a really good question. Just in case the mic didn't pick it up, the question was on overtraining. I was a chronic overtrainer. Who else in the room has been there, done that, got the lecture? It was really hard to find a balance. And actually, I think because I came from a background of nothing, in my mind, it was more is more. And actually, I've got so much to gain. I can't even run 500 meters. I've still got 20 kilos to lose. And actually, for me, it was just, okay, well, let's just keep doing more. And actually, that wasn't the right thing. So I think it comes down to education and what works for you. So I had to learn a really hard lesson in that just because I was pushing harder doesn't mean I was getting positive stuff back from that. So I was in the gym 7 times a week. I was getting up before work and doing double sessions, like in the morning, getting up at 4 a.m., going and running, going to work, then going to the gym, doing a strength session. And I didn't have an education about recovery. I was eating well, but not specifically. So I'd say for me, it was a case of understanding how much recovery builds you back up. And actually Mike from Recovery Systems, the gains are made when you're recovering. That off day is more important than your on day. So I think it's really dependent. I think it's very hard to give standard rules. I think testing what works for you. For me, it was kind of putting more emphasis on making sure that I had an active recovery. So active recovery days tend to work better for me than like a full rest day. But I'll make sure I kind of set myself some mini rules, so I won't run more than kind of 4 or 5 times a week. I don't know about everyone else on the panel. I think it's very hard to set rules because we're all so different. Depends what sport you're training for. It depends like what your background is. But I think listening to your body is really key.
I was going to say that. I think when you feel tired, take a day. That's what I always do. And I never have a designated day, but when I know I'm feeling tired, I just shut it down.
Yeah, if you're not hitting the weights or the speed or the distance that you usually hit, there's a reason. And just think, is it maybe you're a little bit unwell? Is it you are overtraining? And if you are overtraining, just take a break.
And I think it depends how much you want to get into it. So I'm not wearing it at the minute, but I've got an Aura ring. So if you want that data, it does I mean, it's for me, I'm performing at quite a high level now, so I need to be keeping an eye on that. It was about $350, but what it does is it takes your heart rate variability constantly throughout the day, and it then gives you a score every day and says how ready your body is. That's been really valuable for me because it will track all those trends on how my heart rate's changing, heart rate variability, and that gives indications towards like, right, you really need to back off and rest now. When I was ill, it picked it up really quickly. So if you're looking for kind of a fine tune, if you want the science behind it, there are things out there. There's also a Whoop band that's really interesting. But I think it just comes down to actually, am I feeling tired? Do I ache?
The Aura Ring also tracks your sleep and your deep sleep also, because my
Yes.
husband's had it since the first iteration, and it's continuously evolved since whenever it came out 4 or 5 or however many years ago, and it's really, really good for your sleep data as well. So,
and I would just say, give yourself permission to rest. I know that I've got a few faces who know. You are never going to gain anything from a session that injures you. If you took that rest day, you would gain something from it. So I think just, go from that.
If you're really interested on like knowing where you are, don't guess. Work with a healthcare practitioner. There's no point in, oh, I'm going to take this supplement, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to eat this stuff, if you don't know. So find out, get the blood tests done. You know, micronutrients, macronutrients, you can get those blood tests done to find out if you are deficient in anything or what's going on in your blood work. Hormone levels as well. Don't guess. Get the data and then work from there. Because a lot of people you'll hear, do this, do that. Oh, it might be this, it might be that. But
especially when everyone is so different. Okay, we've got one more question just before we wrap up. Jess, it was one that came in from one of your squad. Did you want to?
It came in from one of my squads, and that is, how do you overcome fear when you've had an accident in the sport that you love? Okay, I think, Sarah, would you want to have a go at that one first? Just because I know you've probably had a few jumps in the past.
Well, so for squad, for trampolining, so I ended my career doing a Rudy out and landed on my head and ended up in a wheelchair for 2 weeks while I waited for the swelling to go down. They thought I'd broken my back. Not such a great time. It took a long time to get back on the trampoline. But it is that love. When you love something and you're willing to go for it. I think for me it was, I had coaches that I trusted, the trust, and do it slowly, build it up. I mean, lost move syndrome happens all the time. I'm speaking specifically for trampolining. I know that doesn't affect everybody, but you'll lose a move and it'll come back and you'll lose it again. And that's totally normal. And Bryony Page has done a really great blog on lost move syndrome. So if you want to do some research on her. And it's building up that trust in yourself again. To trust yourself that you can do it. And accidents happen. It's part of life. Injuries happen. What can I do with it? And that's resiliency. Bouncing back. It doesn't happen overnight. You build it. It's a practice. And that's why they call it practice. Because you're practicing. You don't have to get it right. And this is for everybody. You don't have to get it right straight away. It's called a practice because we're practicing. And that's okay. Should I pass it along?
I am conscious of time, so as much as I could probably sit here all day, I think we'll wrap it up there. I think what's amazing is, although we're sat on these boxes here, by no means are we the ones with all of the answers. I think looking at the faces in the room of people that I know, and I'm sure the people that I don't know as well, I'm sure that there are so many things that you could share to inspire other people. I think what's really nice about doing this workout and building this community is, like I say, either on social media or in person, reach out to other people. Like, I love it when people message me asking for tips. I am also the first to message other people if I've got a question, and I'll always just ask really nicely, and if they're too busy to answer, that's absolutely fine. But I've learned so much from so many people in this room, and actually the ability to kind of support my mental health and grow my confidence has come hugely from my husband, bless him, but also from the women that I've got around me. So definitely reach out if you have got other questions or there are other things you're sitting on that you want to share. We're all on Instagram. We're all around and about. I'll put this up and I'll put everyone's tags in it so that if you have got questions. But you are an amazing community of people, so do keep sharing with each other. And yeah, it's nice to be nice. So. Right, I think just because of time, unless there's anything else anyone wants to say, we will leave it there. So ladies on the panel, thank you so much. Ladies in the audience, thank you